through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keeps dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What's going on, people? What is going on? It's G, and we are back in the building, and we're back today with another Scout Watch. And you guys can obviously see on your screen today we are here to talk about Federico Chiesa. I like that name, you know, Chiesa. You know, it's good name, and good name. Very, very good player as well. Before we obviously dive in, guys, as I always say, please make sure you smash that like button, and please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are brand new. So Chiesa. Ooh, very, very good player. Very, very good player. Obviously has been blighted by injuries. Obviously had a very, very big injury which put him out for a little while. We can see here, you know, with his injury record, it is absolutely crazy in terms of the amount of games that he's missed. You can see there's that big one in the 21-22 season, missed 36 games. That is, you know, so crazy. If you maybe took that one out, then the rest, obviously the rest are still bad. Do you know what I mean? Of course, look, he's had injuries every single season. And you look at the types of injuries that he does get as well: muscle injury, hamstring injury, heck, an unknown injury, muscle fatigue, you know, fitness problems, knee problems, you know, tendon irritation. This guy is having a crazy amount of injuries. Now, why am I here to do a Scout Watch about Chiesa? The reason being is that obviously Liverpool have been supposedly, now obviously I don't think it's really been confirmed or anything like that, but we've supposedly been linked with Chiesa. Apparently Juventus are potentially looking to, obviously they've got their own issues that they've got going on over there in Italy, but they've apparently been looking at potentially selling a Chiesa. I don't think it's that they want to sell him. I think it's just more financially they might just need to get a couple of players off their books, whether it be for wages, for money and stuff like that. So I think he's one of the players that they might, and again, this is a big might, potentially be looking at to sell in the summer. The reported fee, I think, is quite low as well. It's low in terms of, if you think about just the player, take away his injuries and stuff like that, all the stuff that we've seen of Chiesa, and it feels like he's been around for absolute ever. You know, seeing him at Fiorentina, and then obviously Juventus, Italy. You know, we see, it feels like he's been around for like 7, 8, 9, 10 years kind of thing. You know, and he's just now entering into his prime, but he hasn't. You know, if I'm being totally honest with you, you know, I would say maybe in the last 4, 5 years. If that, maybe 4 years, where we could really say he's kind of gone up a level from first original thought. But this one's a tricky one. Because I thought about, you know, when I was thinking about doing the Scout Watches, you know, for this week and stuff like that, and I'm looking at players that, you know, we're potentially linked with, etc., etc. And obviously his name is clearly popped up quite a few times. It's a tricky one. It is a very, very tricky one. And the reason why it's tricky is because you're talking about a player who, despite his injuries, is a quality player. So when you're looking on the face of it, you're like, would I mind too tough? Heck, it's only going to take another team to go and get him, and all of a sudden you're not going to see any injuries and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, you know, he's going to get back to that level that we all know that he could, you know, he can get to, and all this kind of stuff. But because of the injuries, myself included, I can see why people will be like, nah, I don't want a Chiesa, nah, he's too injury prone, blah, blah, blah. But I don't hear anybody talk about Chiesa, or I haven't heard anybody talk about Chiesa and say, oh, he's a rubbish player. Oh, he's not that good. I don't think anybody actually would say that. He kind of reminds me almost of like an Iron Robin, who constantly blighted with injuries. Obviously, then moved to Bayern, still kind of had his injuries and stuff like that. But he's so quality that you're almost like, do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Hopefully we can manage him quite well. And I think he's one of those players that when I look at, I'm like, yeah, he's definitely a player who, if he were to come to Liverpool, if Liverpool were looking to explore that deal, he's a player that I'm like, you might need to just go on whatever Mo Salah's training schedule is, you know, training regime, should I say, because Mo Salah don't get no injuries. And I'm sure that Mo Salah does his own kind of individual kind of training regime. So if that's the case, maybe someone like a Chiesa could potentially work with that, and it could potentially help him. And if that was to then help him, I'm telling you now, you talk about a Salah successor. If he wasn't so injury prone, he'd probably be one of a couple, him, Elise, and maybe a few others who I'd be looking at and saying to myself, maybe you might have to get someone like him in. Maybe you just might have to get him in. But obviously, injuries are going to be the reason why people don't really want him. But what type of a player is Chiesa? So Chiesa, proven wide forward, capable of playing towards both left and right, predominantly right-footed to the extent the foot he is playing on has a significant influence on both his end product and method of progressing the ball. He can regardlessly strike well with both feet, particularly when aiming at goal. Again, dribbling abilities there. He's someone who will obviously get the ball forward, when he needs to. He can also fill in quite a few positions. That's something that I really like about him. And it's something that I like about it. I think it's just something that's just in makeup of players, certain players anyway, that when I look at him, it kind of, it's like a light bulb in my head kind of moment, because I'm always like, players who can play in different systems and play in those systems well, no problem. I like that, because it shows that you do have a certain level of football IQ, within yourself. And when you're looking at someone like Chiesa, I feel like he's got that. I really do feel like he's got that. You can see here with some of his attributes. Big up 11 stats as well. Make sure you guys check them out for the latest stats on the top 5 European leagues, and I believe other leagues as well. This is obviously their mark and their kind of rating as to what they think of someone like Chiesa. Ball carrying 89, crossing 85. Creativity 75, link up plays decent at 71 as well. When I'm looking at the ball carrying, again, when I'm looking at Liverpool's wingers, shall we say, I'll probably say the one who carries the ball the most, probably Diaz. He does like to pick up the ball from deep and obviously likes to travel with it, take on players and stuff like that. But I don't feel like he's very, with someone like, say, a Diaz and a Chiesa, when I look at Diaz, it's not very, what's the right way to kind of say it? He obviously looks to do his tricks and whatever it is that he's trying to do, dribble and go on the outside, inside, and cut in, shoot, do whatever, all that kind of stuff. But I never feel like it's with any real potency, if that makes sense. I never really feel like he's driving really in at the goal. It's just more to kind of, it's like the build up to it. And I'm like, okay, we're getting to that climax, but then nothing's really happening, afterwards kind of thing. And then when I look at someone like Chiesa, I'm like, this is someone who's going straight at goal. Doesn't matter how, he's going straight, or he's going out wide to them, obviously cross the ball in or whatever it is he needs to do. But there's always a level of potency, I feel, anyway, when I look at someone like a Chiesa. Again, I'll keep reiterating it throughout this video. Again, injuries. He's clearly, he's showing like he's clearly an injury-prone player. So injury-prone and Liverpool, funnily enough, doesn't really go well. It goes in terms of we seem to only sign injury-prone players, but it doesn't go because of the way that we play, because of our style of football, because of the level of intensity that we obviously bring, to our play. Someone like a Chiesa, he would probably break down more often than not, unless he is going to be managed well. When you look at his shooting and stuff like that, when he's shooting, the same ball playing technique is a strength, because it ensures he maintains his accuracy without him having to adjust to ensure power while placing the ball. His focus is on hitting the target, which he can do from a variety of angles, in contrast to attempting to deliver into the path of a teammate's run. Now, that's, again, really, really good, purely because when you look at it, I always feel like Chiesa is one of those kind of players. He's always trying to, whip the ball in, at a moment's notice. Again, like I said, it's just that level of potency that I feel that at times we need. Of course, he's got the pace as well. He's got the acceleration. He's got the agility, to get himself in behind if that's how you want to play, especially with Mo Salah out to in kind of run. But maybe he's not going to do that same run. Maybe he's going to go from in to out, potentially. He can fill in a variety, of roles. If we look here at some of the roles that he's obviously played for, Juventus, he's played as a centre forward, he's played as a left winger, he's played as a right winger, he's played as a support striker as well. He's played in so many different roles purely because he can play in those roles. And the sheer fact that when I look at him, especially one thing that I know that Liverpool don't have is that we've got a lot of left wingers in the team, who I don't really think can play right wing. The people obviously make shouts for Diaz to potentially play, right wing, but I feel like because of the way that Diaz plays, right wing isn't really. You're not really going to see the best of him because he likes to cut in and he can't cut in on his left foot. Obviously, he's right footed, so he preferred to be on that left wing. Not to say he couldn't really do the job there, but would I be that confident? Not really, if I'm being totally honest with you. Whereas when I look at someone like a Chiesa, he's someone who we don't have that where you've got a person who's on their side of the pitch, i.e., on the right side or on the left side, and they're actually that footed. Obviously, we've always got someone who they like to cut in because then obviously we need that width. Coming from it used to be coming from our fullbacks, Trent or Robbo, down the sides. Whereas having someone like a Chiesa who can be a touchline winger, something that Mo Salah isn't really good at doing because he likes to come infield and that's where he's most effective. Someone like a Chiesa, I feel like he can be effective in both areas. So that might also help in certain transitional play that we're struggling with, at times having that player who is actually right footed on the actual right wing and can play that role really, really well, but also play on that left wing if we had a bunch of injuries and stuff like that, or we needed a level of rotation and et cetera, et cetera. When you look at all the different types of positions, again, 4-3-3 for Juventus playing on that left wing position. I feel like he obviously only really played there because of someone like an Angel Di Maria who was best out there on the right for Juve. You can see here him playing on that right hand side again. Like I said, Di Maria is not playing today. He can now play, in that right wing position. This in a 3-5-1-1 formation, playing on the left hand side, playing kind of more as a. I guess you can maybe dress it up as a left midfielder, but I would probably say that's more like a left wing back if I'm being totally honest with you, because of Quadrado playing as a right wing back on that right hand side. That's kind of how Juventus like to play, and I've always really liked to play. And again, here you can see playing as an attacking midfielder, as an attacking two behind Milic, for Juve. So not in that right midfield or right wing back position or left midfield / left wing back position. This time he's playing as an attacking midfielder, or if you want to say as a support striker, maybe Fabio Moretti would be kind of, would I say, behind them two. So maybe Chiesa and Milic will probably form as a partnership as two strikers, so to speak, with Chiesa playing off Milic, but and then Moretta behind those two. But you can see these are the different types of positions that he can obviously play. And he's someone who, like I said, playing on that right wing, coming in and still being comfortable on your left foot. And we don't, Mo Salah is obviously left footed. So of course, when he comes in, it's not a problem, but that's all he can do is play really from out to in. I feel like Chiesa can do both those kind of jobs, coming from out to in. He is someone who will then go beyond the striker, if needs be. If he is in those kind of central areas, you can see Danilo's got the ball here. That next pass is into Chiesa in behind. Chiesa's got the pace. Look, obviously he's offside there, but Chiesa has got the pace anyway, even if he was onside, to be able to come to beat those defenders. And you can see with the arrows, he was actually coming in from that left-hand position to then make that darting run. Have we got many players on that left-hand side who will do that? I don't see Diaz as someone who's going to be coming from out to in to run beyond, the strikers, to beyond the defense, if I'm being totally honest with you. Gakpo, maybe. Nunes, again, maybe. But do they do it well? I don't know. I feel like maybe Chiesa, Gakpo, and Nunes, Chiesa and Gakpo anyway, they kind of are similar, but Chiesa's got way more pace than a Gakpo. So that's where I'll be looking at it to potentially put him in any of those forward areas, in any of those positions. And as I said, he's got that agility, he's got that pace. Agility both on and off the ball, significant strength of his, and contributes to his ability to play on both the left and right, capable of weaving past opponents with the ball at his feet, and of making touches from in to out and out to in. Even if opponents can predict his intentions, they are regularly sent both backwards and sideways by his movement. Again, having that type of player on that right hand side, and this is specifically for him to come in, if he were to come in, or if Liverpool were to explore that deal, it is for those reasons, because ultimately, yes, I understand Mo Salah is going to play the majority of games, and that's absolutely fine. As long as he doesn't decline anymore, then, or for a little while anyway, before we think about, upgrading in that position, then I'm absolutely fine with Mo Salah playing there. But wouldn't you rather have him as your option as opposed to Harvey Elliott or a Ben Doak? People always talk about stunting development and things like that, and I do get it. If a player is good enough and you think that they're the next one up, then of course you don't want to stunt their growth. We saw what Man City did with Phil Foden. We saw how Pep Guardiola kind of managed, that situation, and he managed it really, really well. He kept him in and around the team, but he gave him minutes, he gave him starts, and then when you get those starts and when you get those minutes, you start to trust yourself and you start to trust your own ability. We're not really doing that. We never really do that. We haven't done that, especially with the right wing back, wing position. Is that it's just been Mo Salah. Harvey Elliott, he is a right winger, by trade. Naturally he can play there, but he's not the type of right winger that we actually need. If I'm being honest with you, because he's not fast, so he can't get in behind any defense. So he's going to always have to play ball to feet. If you start playing ball to feet all the time, when your actual game is to go in behind, it does create a little bit of problems. Maybe if he was at a different type of team where they don't mind that, then not a problem. He isn't, Elliott's not really a dribbler like a Mahrez or anything. He hasn't got that kind of quality. He's just quite an efficient kind of player. He's one of those kind of guys, maybe jack of all trades, really master of none. But he isn't someone who can go in behind. His dribbling ability isn't really that great, but he has got good technique on the ball. That's one thing I really will give Elliott. Now, Ben Doak, we haven't really seen much of him. Again, him on the right wing, he probably suits what we want to actually play a lot better, in my opinion, than a Harvey Elliott. So it is then that question. Of course, Ben Doak is nowhere near the quality level of a Chiesa. That's absolutely fine. He's only 16, 17 years of age. He might potentially get there. So then there's that conversation of, if you were to get in someone of a level or quality of a Chiesa, where do you realistically see Ben Doak? But again, Ben Doak's someone that right now I wouldn't really be putting my stocks in him at this current moment in time. He needs to go out there, play some men's football for a little while, see how he does, see how he can kind of acclimatize to this level of football first and foremost before we start putting our stocks into him. Whereas Chiesa, we know he can play at this quality level. Won the Euros with Italy. Like this is a Champions League guy who's played there basically since he joined Juventus. He can do it. His quality level cannot be, put into question. I don't think anybody would actually question that. The only thing you're going to question is obviously his availability. And at the moment, when it comes to Chiesa, his availability is not availabilitizing. If I'm being totally honest with you, it's just not really, it's just not been that good, in the last couple of seasons. And I think that will always obviously be, his downfall, unfortunately. He was doing all right, played it, take this banner off for you guys here. Look, played in the 2021 season, played 46 games, 15 goals, 11 assists. You'd kill for that. Again, this is talking, we're trying to replace Mo Salah, so maybe you want a little bit more, but Mo Salah wasn't doing Mo Salah numbers until he came to Liverpool, type of thing. He was doing kind of like these kind of numbers, maybe a little bit better, but these are the kind of numbers that I was kind of seeing from a Mo Salah, if I'm being totally honest with you. But then, 21, 22 season, only 18 games, for you to go from 46 and then to 18 games, still getting yourself 4 goals and assists, eight goals and 4 goals and 4 assists, so 8 goals and assists in 18 games. That is pretty good, pretty decent. And then obviously, but this season, the season just gone 22-23, he's played 33 games, got himself 4 goals, got himself 6 assists. So, hopefully, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, yeah, he's coming back, because all it takes is just one training session with Liverpool and then, it's all done and dusted. But when we're looking here, you see his heat map as well. Again, in those wide areas, even mostly, this season, we can see wide areas actually, in that kind of left wing / left wing back position, as opposed to the right wing. So again, he is showing that level of versatility. He is showing that he's able to play. And because he's someone who is very good at coming deep for the ball, very good dribbler of the ball, can play from the out to in to out, as we know, got good shot technique, good finishing ability. He's got an array of finishes. But a little bit, I'd say he's a little bit, maybe, obviously Mo Salah is different now, but if I had to look at the two from when Mo Salah came to the football club, I wouldn't have said he was a clean finisher or anything like that, in terms of the shots that he was taking. But again, when you're getting yourself into those kind of positions on a consistent enough basis, over time, it just becomes repetitive. And then, you just become a lot more confident at, what you can potentially do. If you're looking here at these metrics here, again, the metrics are really, really good. Good progressive carrier, successful take-ons, decent tackler as well, blocks, gets himself assists. So, when you're looking at it on paper, it's a very good deal to make, especially if the reported fees are actually true, that's a deal that I think, you know, Liverpool should 100% be getting themselves involved in, because we will, what we're looking at in terms of some of the players that I've seen us be linked with, and even some of the scout reports and scout watches that I've done, none of those players are players that you would probably realistically say are players who come in now and move the needle. If I'm being honest, they're players that you're like, yeah, they come in, they have a role within the squad, but realistically, we're not going to see maybe the best of them for about 2-3 seasons, which is fine to have. It's always good to have those type of players within a squad, but we've already got those within the squad. Do we need to keep buying more? You know, I think Liverpool need to start looking at kind of ready-made players, and sometimes some of these kind of deals, you look at Manchester City being linked and potentially signing Kovacic again. Depending on when this, by the time this video comes out, they might have already signed him. But when you look at those kind of deals, Kovacic, he's been injured. He's been a little bit injury prone at Chelsea, but guess what? Ready-made quality player. He might not play all the time. Don't know if Gundogan might leave. We don't know if Bernardo Silva might leave. But guess what? If they do leave, you've still got a player like a Kovacic who's quality to come in. And because of the style of play, he probably won't pick up that amount of injuries that he was picking up previously. That's where I feel that Liverpool just needs to be smart in terms of the business, but also be smart in the training ground and understand that the way that you play is going to obviously have that adverse effect on these players. If you change up the way you play, you're going to see the best of some of these players. Sometimes it can't obviously be helped. Van Dijk injury, you know, prime example. Those kind of things, they just can't obviously be helped. But ultimately, when you've got a player of that kind of quality, you know, on the market, would you sign him? I'd definitely be having conversations with with the medical team if we have one. I'd definitely be having conversations and trying to figure out what's it look like if we get someone like him, you know, in the squad. But you know, it remains to be seen. Let me know, obviously, what you guys, you know, think in the comment section. Do you think we should be looking at someone like a Chiesa? Excuse me. Do you think maybe we should potentially even try and look at that area for the summer window? Is that an area that you guys think we should even bother with, kind of thing? You know, we know that Salah's going to be going away for AFCON. If he goes, there's no Mane to fall back on this time. So where the goal's going to potentially come from, maybe Gakpo might be able to help out, Diaz, Jota, and all these kind of players. Maybe they might be able to help out. Maybe it won't really matter. But I'm looking solely at that right wing position, and I'm thinking it's a weak area in terms of you've got one man who can play that position to the way that you want to play it. Outside of that, we don't really have anything else. But guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Today, we took a look at Federico Chiesa. Let me know. I think this is an interesting one. I think, look, if we look past the injuries, then of course you get him in, but the injuries play such a major factor that we can't just ignore it. So let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section. I'm G. That's the Scout Watch done. I am outie.